Hello, my name is Michael Tomas with the RouteHub training program. I am the lead consultant and trainer for RouteHub when it was established back in 2005. In this video bootcamp series, focused on getting your Ccent or Ccna, we will first start out with an introduction to understand my background and what to expect from this series for learning and eventually getting your certification. We will start with briefly discussing my background on my professional experience so you feel comfortable that the knowledge of the presenter, the instructor in the series, knows what they're talking about and has extensive experience in the field. So let's start from the beginning. So let's step back, and I first started out in IT, as with any person, as a desktop technician or a desktop administrator, working with DOS, Windows 3.1, which was not fun at all, but eventually getting into Windows 95, which was very impressive at the time. Moving ahead after a year or two, I was later a system administrator for various companies, working with Novell 4 and Windows NT with PDCs and BDC servers before the concept of Active Directory came up. Now, I didn't really like doing most window administration as it required a lot of troubleshooting and rebooting, which always seems to fix a problem. That didn't make any sense to me, and spending long nights working with these operating systems. But my goal early on was to be a network engineer, specializing with Cisco products, which was the dominant leader for networking products and solutions. And shortly after system administration, I did exactly that, working at Cisco, where from there I gained tons of knowledge and experience that continued over the years. During those years, I got many certifications focused around Cisco that are still active today. I got my Ccna back in 1998 and the CCNP a year later in 1999. Then I got the highest certification in the industry, my CCIE, back in January of 2001. Furthermore, I reached my 10th year as a CCIE back in January of 2011. What a great and busy 10 years has been. While working as an employee for many of the companies listed on the previous slides, I started my own company focused around a specific niche, which was Cisco consulting and training. Our direction over the years changed, where we focus with our training program, but we still do consulting for new projects and deployments, less for support or managed type services. We have done work for many notable clients that include Good Technology, Rolls-Royce, Polycom, Club One, Rayleigh's, to many nonprofit organizations like PRBO, National CASA, Compass Family Services, to Kickstart, which has many locations in Africa. I also published a technical book called the Network Design Cookbook, which took me over 10 years to complete. It is focused on step-by-step practical network designs for building LAN, WAN, data center solutions, including routing, switching, voice, and security. You can get more details at routehub.net/design. Next, we'll talk about the profession of information technology, also called IT. There are many different professions, such as being a doctor, an engineer of some kind, to many different areas in business. One of those professions is IT, also called the computer field, to people who do not know what IT is. Well, under this IT umbrella, there are many different specialties, ranging from desktops, servers, security, to even networking, which is what I specialize in and what the Ccna is focused on. Now, everyone starts out with desktops, which is a basic specialty, which will eventually lead into some of the more advanced specialties like servers, security, to networking. As a desktop technician, you will likely work on Windows, Linux, or Mac desktop systems. As a server administrator, you may work on Windows servers like a 2008 server, or Linux or Mac-based servers, providing various services like email, web, or other applications. Networking deals with connectivity to these services, including the internet, which consists of equipment like routers and switches. These may be Cisco-based or maybe Juniper perhaps, among others. For this series, it is focused on Cisco equipment and its configuration. Security can be focused on the policy side of things, which deals with the do's and don'ts that you can do on the network, where security operations deals with configuring and managing firewalls or VPN devices. Now, in most environments, the firewall and VPN security roles are usually managed by the network engineer. A security engineer may deal with working with more advanced security solutions like IPS to content security. And some of these security vendors include Cisco, SonicWall, Juniper to Palo Alto Networks, among others. Voice or telecom deals with phone services for users, which can be digital or analog phones, or maybe a VoIP solution, which usually involves the network engineer for many of the responsibilities needed for VLANs and quality of service. Some of the vendors in this space include Cisco, SureTel, NEC, and Avaya. Another specialty is engineering or development, which deals with programming aspects like creating software, applications to web pages. Database engineers are a very specialized system engineer focused only on database servers that work with servers in the environment for large data sets. Oracle is probably the largest database vendor today that many organizations use. And of course, there is management, who manages a network team or maybe a desktop team, and so forth. So if you want to specialize in IT, it's critical to understand which specialty you want to focus on for your career. And in this series, we are assuming that networking is what you want to specialize in. Now let's discuss what to expect from this bootcamp series, including the structure that we will follow. Under the IT network umbrella, using Cisco equipment, there are many different levels of certifications. The starting point is the entry-level certification called the Ccent. The Ccna is the next level aimed for junior network engineers. Next is the professional level, which is the CCNP certification, and the expert level, which is the CCIE and the CCDE certifications pursued by senior network engineers. The latest certification is the Cisco Certified Architect, but that appears to be more targeted towards management with a very high price tag. While among engineers and architects in the field today, the CCIE and the CCDE are the expert certifications to achieve in the industry. Our video series is focused on the Ccent and the Ccna certifications, depending on what you purchased. The learning material focused on these certifications are based on what is called the Interconnecting Cisco Networking Devices, or IC&D. The IC&D resources are broken up into two parts. The Ccent certification is based on IC&D Part 1. The exam number for this certification is 640-822. For the Ccna certification, it is based on IC&D Parts 1 and Part 2. So the exam numbers are 640-822 and 640-816. These are two tests that you can take. Or you can take a single test using the exam number of 640-802. If you're starting out, it is recommended to take the IC&D Part 1 test first to become a Ccent. Then pursue the IC&D Part 2 test to become a Ccna. That structure and that pace is a lot better because the Ccna has a lot of information that you must learn. Again, this video series is focused on the Ccna and the Ccent certifications based on the two resources of IC&D 1 and IC&D 2. The structure and the content from these resources is what our training series will be following for individuals pursuing these certifications. But our video series will be more tailored for learning the material easily and to apply real-world cases along the way. In this series, you will learn many networking concepts from routing, switching, Cisco hardware, wireless, LAN/WAN technologies, network security, to even network management. You'll learn about many best practices, how to configure many of the networking technologies like routing or switching, and how you can manage and monitor Cisco routers and switches on an infrastructure. Here's the structure for this video series. If you purchase only the Ccent, you have access to the ICND1 materials. For the Ccna, you have access to all ICND materials, parts 1 and parts 2. For each chapter that we will put together for this series, it will consist of the following materials. There will be a PowerPoint presentation video for that chapter. Now, based on the chapter and the topics discussed, there will be practical videos showing how to configure or monitor many of the Cisco operations. Now, not all chapters will have practical videos available. You will also get access to other resources and materials to that chapter for increased learning on the topics discussed in that chapter. And additional resources will be added over time to the series. Here are some points to consider during the course of this video series. First, you may notice that some topic contents may be repeated within a chapter and carried into other chapters. This will reinforce what has been discussed for further retention and its importance. Second, take full advantage of video on-demand learning, where you can learn at your own pace to really understand the concepts. Don't rush it and get it done quickly. Take your time and pace yourself. If there is something that you don't understand, you can replay the videos where needed for better retention of the material. This is an advantage over classroom training, which quickly goes through the material to complete that bootcamp course in under a week. So learning about the concepts and the configuration is very important. So we will emphasize on that many times in this series. Which comes to the next point, which is the difference between experienced certified people and paper certified people. It's something to be aware of. Experienced certified means network people who have on-the-job experience, who obtains their Ccna, where a certified or a paper certified individual passes a Ccna without any working experience in the field. Many people starting out with networking will get the Ccna with minimal to no networking experience under their belt. So applying for a job with a Ccna, the person expects a job as a network engineer, but they don't get the job, and they have a very hard time trying to understand why they didn't get the job, even though they have the certification. The main reason is with networking experience. The certification is great to get your foot in the door, but it is your experience and personality, of course, that determines if you get the job or not. So starting out with a Ccna with no experience, typical first jobs may include tech support or being a NOC engineer, which is similar to tech support really. NOC stands for Network Operations Center, which is what I did in the very beginning of my career. This will give you good exposure to networking, where you can then pursue many other network engineer opportunities. So keep these points in mind during the course of this video series. And now, at this time, proceed to Chapter 1 with ICND Part 1 to begin the Ccent and the Ccna Bootcamp video series.